don't know what they expect. They asked me this deep question about my lyrics that I'm not allowed to share, and it's like, I'm not gonna tell you. Yeah, serious tea. I might have to make some phone calls after this and let them know, hey, the news is out.
Like, oh, by the way, something just happened. I couldn't shut up any longer, but.
Tired, but good.
Tired, good, and on the floor again. And this time you're not wearing a hat.
I'm not wearing a hat. It feels warmer in my house today. I think we have the heater on, so.
Well done. I'm cold today, as you can tell. Like, I'm wearing this ginormous sweater.
Yes, it looks cozy. It looks very cozy.
It is very cozy, but I'm still cold. This is
no.
not my time of
you
year.
need a blanket. You don't have any blankets in that house?
Well, downstairs. Well, and in my
that's far, though.
but I would have
walk
to get
far
up.
in the cold.
Too much effort. Getting up is too much effort.
I hear you. Totally hear you.
Also, this is not a tissue. Also, I should probably put that away. I cut my finger.
Oh, what did you do?
Because today I was like, okay, I'm gonna practice some guitar. So I cut my nails because they were really long, and I cut into my finger.
Ooh, ouch. I have a wounded finger too. I did like a ukulele stream yesterday. I always get this, I don't know if you can even see it. I always get this gnarly blister on the side of my finger. And now so it's really gross, but I'm going to tell this story anyway. I have like a nasty callus on this side of the finger now because it's blistered so many times. Like it used to be where I'd play ukulele and the blister on the side of my finger would be like off my finger like that much. Like it'd be a huge
How?
Whoa.
How does that even happen?
I don't know. I know I don't play right. Like I never learned how to play. I self-taught and I don't have good form or whatever. So I don't care though, like enough to fix it, but I'm aware of it. And so that blister would like form. I'd pop it like with a sterilized needle or whatever, and I'd take care of it. And it would happen like a ton of times. So now what's happening though is I've got this massive callus all the way around this one finger, but like the blister comes up under it. And it's like really gross.
Oh my
really
God,
weird.
that sounds absolutely.
So every time I live stream, I have like a weird blister for a week.
A weird blister, but it's not like when you're strumming, you're like in pain the whole time. Like, oh my God, my finger is getting.
Oh, it hurts while I'm playing. Every live stream hurts a little bit.
You heard it, everyone. Daniel goes through severe pain every time he puts on one of those live streams.
You know, there's a reason. I don't know if you weren't around yet. When I first started doing those live streams, I would like bleed everywhere almost every time. And it was because I didn't have that callus yet. And so it used to be like, it would be very evident like, oh, he's in pain. But I'd just be like, all right, another hour. And we'd just keep playing with like blood all over my ukulele. I have a ukulele that I don't use it anymore. It's broken. But there's like literal blood splatter all inside the inside of it. Because it's like the most metal thing I've ever seen.
That's very rock and roll, but yeah.
It makes me feel cool. But no, it definitely, the live streams do hurt a little bit. But it's fun, so who cares?
I still need to rewatch that. I really want to rewatch. You always stream whenever I can't watch. I think I was like watching it live once in my life.
Yeah, the problem is, no matter when you choose to stream, when you have like people everywhere, there's someone missing out, and I always feel bad about it. But I've not found the perfect time yet. Feels like there's always someone who's like, "Why did you do it at this time?"
Yeah. And then there are like people like me. I'm literally busy all the time. I do shit all the time. So I'm like,
I hear you.
Oh my God. But yes, oh my God, I'm very excited that we get to do another episode of this. This is so fun.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm glad we're back. I look a little different this time.
You do look a little different.
I'm filming the next part in the Uncaged series in a week. And so I had to get this nastiness back, and my hair's looking weird, and it's just a whole thing. It's a whole thing I've got to do for that. So
I mean,
I cannot wait to look normal again.
That you go to quite the lengths for that role you're playing. So that is basically just that.
Yeah, I feel gross, but it helps me. It's good to feel gross when you're playing a character who feels gross. So it helps in like the acting part too. But I was like, I need to look gross again, so let's do it. So.
And now you're on here looking gross. but talking about exciting things.
Yeah, it's funny because we'll go from, if they watch it like back to back a little bit, they'll see like clean shaven Daniel who's like all bundled up in nice clothes and a beanie. And then you get to the third one, I'm wearing a t-shirt and my face looks nasty and I'm just like, hey.
It's like end of the year blues. He's given up now.
The other videos were like what 2020 or was what 2019 was.
Yeah.
This is 2020 Daniel.
For real.
2020
Like
quarantine
quarantine, post quarantine, or like during quarantine. Oh my god.
So true.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
But yeah, before we actually start talking about the project, let's talk really briefly about your Spotify rap, because honestly, when I saw your post earlier, like yesterday, I don't remember when, I was like, oh my god, I was so stoked for you. So how are we feeling about it?
It was pretty cool. I mentioned on Twitter that in 2019 for my solo music, I was too embarrassed to share my Spotify Wrapped because of how low the numbers all were. I was like, this is sad. Like, I'm like, especially next to Crown and Chains, because Crown and Chains had a very established fan base. And then I was looking at my numbers and it was like less than 70 people and like less than 500 streams or something. And I was like, I'm not even sharing this. And then this year's was like hold on, let me pull it up, because the coolest one to me was the percents in growth. Yeah, I grew in streams. I grew 1,500%.
What?
In shares, 1,300%. In listeners, 600%, and in playlist ads, 600%. Which is like, I thought percents only went to 100, so that was kind of cool to see that they can go further than 100.
Oh my god, Daniel, you're breaking the algorithm basically.
It felt pretty cool. It felt pretty cool. 43 countries. Like, I don't even know. I don't think I can name 43 countries.
Oh, I don't think I could.
Maybe if I tried really hard, I could hit 20.
Maybe
I can't even think of 42
name
countries.
30, maybe.
So, I don't even want to try. So that one always, I think that's always my favorite statistic though, with Crown and Chains and with this one, was like, first of all, how even are there 43 countries? Because I don't know what they are. And then second of all, how is someone in each of those 43 countries listening to me? It blows my mind. So if you're watching this video and you're in a country that I probably don't know about, thank you for existing.
Oh my god. But no, that's really, really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty surreal to I mean, really, I started doing solo stuff for like myself. Like, it wasn't about it wasn't about making content for other people, for numbers, for any of that stuff. It was I had stuff I wanted to express and I needed to express, and to see what it's turned into is pretty cool. Which is cool. That's exactly what happened with Crown and Chains in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Was that I started because I needed to write something, and then it became a different mission, and my solo music did the same thing, which is really cool. So
yeah, if you just follow on the path, and sometimes also you just need to like let go, kill your expectations.
Yeah, that transition though. Let's go. Well done with that. Wow. You see, hey, those of you watching this on YouTube, all right, we have a professional here. Okay, which way am I? I'm in this way in the videos. Are you that way? Are you this?
I don't know.
We got a professional in our midst. Okay, that transition though. Goodness gracious.
So yes, talk to us about the expectations and about It's Still Us series.
Yeah, the It's Us series. So, well, let's go. Should we just go in order with those two? Because they're all different.
Let's go in order, and let's definitely talk about where this whole thing came from, and also like the production you did for it, because you mentioned a little bit of that last time, saying like how over lockdown you kind of found this new way of writing music and producing it. And you're frozen. No, you're unfrozen. No.
You totally went like Decepticon on me. You're like, let's talk about. And I was like, don't murder me. I come in peace.
See, you're not the only one who can scare the crap out of people and make them.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh
man, I think we're good now.
So basically what I was saying, can't stop laughing. I have tears in my eyes.
Oh no, don't cry. Don't mess up your
So
makeup.
sad. Oh my god. No. What I was trying to say was you kind of touched on it last time, how over lockdown you kind of found a completely new way of like writing songs and producing stuff. So definitely throw that in the mix as well and tell us where this whole idea came from.
Yeah, where the idea came from. That's a good idea. That's a good start. Me and Giovanni. So here's a little like random stuff that I don't know if everyone even knows. Was it just my face that made you laugh that time, or was it the remembering of the Cybertron Decepticon? Okay, cool. I'm glad he didn't just look at me and go, because that'd be kind of rough. That's how I feel when I look in the mirror right now and I
I'm
see
composed. I'm composed.
Okay. So Giovanni, I met Giovanni and his sister Grace in my music composition class in high school. I took that class not because I really cared about music composition, but because I heard it was an easy A. And so
you're that person.
we were all the three of us were in that class. I would go on to make music with Giovanni, and guitarist from Crown and Chains Tyler Craig would go to propose to his sister Grace. So true story. He's sort of like a part of the Crown and Chains family as well, extended through them. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so we met in high school, and obviously I knew his sister Grace really well because of her and Tyler dating, but me and him didn't really talk until getting phone calls during interviews. So unprofessional. Me and Giovanni didn't really talk for 2 years after high school. And basically what happened was he posted a beat on his Snapchat, just him producing some rapper. I don't even know who it was, but he posted a beat on his Snapchat. And I was like, dude, that's like really cool. If you ever want to work together, like just hit me up. I'm totally down. He was like, all right. And then he didn't get back to me, the mother fricker. And so I was like, all right, it's whatever. And then he posted like a lo-fi beat that like months later. And I was like, dude, I need it. I need that beat. Let's do something. He was like, all right, come to my house this day. And it was like, oh, frick, like we're doing it. It was a very fast jump between like, we should do this thing. So like, all right, bet. And he like sent me like 6 tracks, 7 tracks, something like that. And he said, yo, just come up with what you can to these and I'll see you tomorrow. And also random detail, totally unnecessary. I'm going to say it anyway because it's funny to me. So during all this time, I had to have part of my toe cut off. Like, and so I had like a nasty, so I don't know if you've heard of the game Spike Ball.
Uh-huh.
So I love Spike Ball. Took a class on Spike Ball or like, that sounds weirder than it actually is. I took a class where I was required to do something active outside for multiple hours a week. And so every week I played Spike Ball like 3 days a week, like a lot. And I did this gnarly score on this dude where I had to dive and hit it. And then I went into the dirt and my like foot scraped and then someone landed on my foot and like part of my toe got all infected and gross. And so I had to get that cut off. And so I played, there's like, I'm sure someone has video, but there's a Crown and Chains gig where I was in a boot prior to the gig because part of my toe wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I was in a boot. And then the second the gig started, I like took the boot off, double wrapped my toe, put on a shoe, and played like a full 45-minute set.
I was about to be like, how can you play the drums in a boot? But that explains.
Let's just I soaked through my sock with blood that night. Let's just say that. It was gross. Well, I don't know why we're getting into these gory stories today, but we are, so whatever. Anyway, long story short, I texted him while I was doing a salt bath for my foot because part of my toe was gone and you need to do that. So I was doing this salt bath and he hits me up and I'm listening to these songs like there's a reason I'm telling this story and it's coming right now. I was listening to these songs with like the sound of water and like a warm bath sloshing around. And it was like strangely really peaceful. And there was this huge theme of like water in all of his production too. And I wrote my lyrics to that entire album in like the 30 minutes that I was soaking my foot
No.
in the salt bath.
That's crazy. So it was literally just like water, like a stream of consciousness, just words out.
The only things I did not write in that moment were the tracks that I didn't write at all. So there's 3 songs in there: intro, interlude, and outro. Those 3 tracks. We're talking about the It's Us EP, by the way. I don't know if I ever said that.
No.
Those 3 tracks are just monologues. Like there's no lyrics to them. And so those ones I just walked in, he handed me a mic, and I just said crap. And we called it good. So, but yeah, I wrote, and that was the whole drive for It's Us, was that most people, when they do lo-fi hip hop, it's like, it's still really calculated. It's still there's like precision to it, and it's a vibe thing. The way we did lo-fi hip hop was, if I'm doing it, it needs to be experimental. And so I took experimental approach of what if we do an album that celebrates imperfection? So instead of making sure we get the perfect vocal take and we do tuning to make it, like, fine tune it and make sure it's really crisp and all this editing and sound production, what if we just do what feels right in the moment, and then we don't touch it? And so we did the whole record like that. He came in with these beats that were really cool ahead of time, but even then we didn't touch the beats once we had them. It was like, that's it, we're done. It stays there. When we couldn't come up with a drum part, the solution was, all right, I'll just beatbox it. It'll just be my voice, and we'll just leave it raw. And so you hear a lot of beatboxing on that record. There's the song specifically Rain Cloudy Days, which we'll talk about again later because we sampled it on the next album. For the song Rain Cloudy Days, I was singing the vocals, and I remember, I don't know if he remembers this, but I remember he stopped me and was like, can you sing that just a little pitchier? And I was like, what? He's like, I feel like for the vibe, you need to be a little pitchier. I was like, all right, I'll try. And so we like intentionally made sure the vocals sat barely off for that song. And I'm so glad we did, though, because the whole record, it's like, it celebrates that there's beauty in imperfection. And in those imperfect moments, you can actually see a better window into who we are when we don't put our best foot forward. When we're not so focused on getting the track perfect, getting it exactly where it needs to be. When we allow it to just be raw art, there's something that's gained even though you lose something else. And that whole record kind of towed that line a little bit.
Definitely. And I mean, I guess that's also where you kind of got the whole kill your expectations kind of thing from, because that is so different from everything else you've done. I remember like you were also like announcing it for weeks and weeks prior to that. And when it like dropped, I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to this. And I was very worried because it was like kill your expectations. I was like, this is going to be outside my comfort zone. I have a feeling about this one. Yeah. And then like I put it on. I was like, yep, this is like outside my comfort zone. Yeah. But I actually really vibed with it because I remember at the time I was studying for my last oral exam at uni, and I needed something to kind of like keep me going, keep my mind occupied to the point where I was like, okay, I won't just get distracted by my own thoughts, but it can't be too distracting from what I'm doing. So it was like really nice. And then later I listened to it in a different context. I was like, the lyrics are not too bad either.
Is this the It's Us EP or the It's Still Us album?
No, it's the EP.
Oh, the EP. Yeah. That album is perfect, or that EP or whatever. I never know what to call it because it's an awkward number of songs, but
yeah,
that
whatever you want to call it, we'll call it.
Record covers all of it. Oh no, you're Decepticoning again. There you go.
Okay, we're back.
We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that record is perfect for studying. And all lo-fi is perfect for studying. I don't know what it is, but it's got that like relaxing, almost stagnance to a lot of it. That because it's repetitive, it's a vibe.
That's what I like about it. You don't feel the time passing. It just like all flows, and before you know it, the whole thing is finished, and you're like, what? Where did the time go? And then you can put it on again, and it doesn't feel repetitive either. That
is a theme on that record too, which is super cool that you said it. And my lyrics don't touch on it that much, But if you listen to what Giovanni says, he has a talking part in Rain Cloudy Days, and then he talks in the outro. He has like a weird – that's my favorite part of that album, for the record. We'll talk about that in a second. But in the things he says, he talks about exactly that, like time passing and how sometimes you don't even feel like time is passing, and really cool that you feel that when you listen to it, because that's totally part of the vibe. So
That's interesting.
But my favorite part of that whole record has nothing to do with me. It's Giovanni did this like nursery rhyme feeling rap that like shifts in and out of meter and in and out of rhyme scheme. And the coolest thing about it, which I love, is that if you didn't know better, you'd think he's just speaking nonsense. Like, it seems like what he's saying has no meaning at all, but it's actually really profound, and it actually like hinges it talks about that whole project, and it preludes the next stuff we do, and it's really cool. So I don't know if you've heard that song and you thought it was nonsense, or if you haven't heard that song and you want to try and figure out what I'm saying, go listen to outro. About halfway through, after my monologue, Giovanni starts this really interesting piece, and it is like my favorite part of that whole record. I love it so much. So much. Also, let me just Giovanni is like the freaking – he's so dang talented. And so you'll notice that when you look at the record, like on your phone or on Spotify or whatever, his name's first on the record. I did that because I forced him to agree to that when we decided to work together, because he didn't want his name involved at all.
Why?
And he's too humble. The guy, like, genuinely, he doesn't care about the attention of it. He doesn't care about any of that stuff, which is fine. But basically, my whole thing was, bro, I have like a decently established fan base, which means you will get followers from this, which is important for being a producer because that gets you connections. And so I was like, if we're going to work together, your name is going on the record next to mine. And I didn't even tell him, but I put it first on the record because, like, dude, you need – like, I wanted to make sure when people heard his production, his beats, his talent, that they didn't forget his name, because so many producers, you got to look at the metadata on Spotify or on Apple Music to even know who they were. And that dude, I mean, when I say this guy effortlessly showcases his talent and effortlessly, oh, wow, that was not a word, effortlessly finds the right vibe, the right chord, the right melody, the right beat, for any lyric, for any sound, for any whatever, I really mean it. That guy is so talented beyond what he knows, and he's the only reason any of these 3 projects were possible. So go follow Giovanni Piazza on his everything. And rumor on the street is that he has some solo stuff coming in 2021.
Oh.
Word on the street. And so keep your ear out for that. But sorry, I just had to interrupt myself and say that.
Go ahead. I mean, he deserves credit. He's as much part of this as you are.
Absolutely.
Even if he doesn't want his name involved. Too bad. It's out there now. Too late.
Yup. Oh, I love that guy. He's so much fun, too. He's such a fun guy to hang around. We have a good time every time we get writing.
And you work so well together creatively. I mean, otherwise, it would have been impossible to put out like these 3 things in a row.
Yeah, for the first record, it's interesting because I think the attributes that like worked well together were different for each record. So for the first one, I'd say that we both have this like, there were 2 things that happened, which is we're both perfectionists, but we're also both like laid back at the same time. And so for that first Lo-Fi EP, there was this thing where we were both pushing ourselves the same way to not be perfectionists with it. But we also both had, because we had the same laid back attitude, we like were able to push each other to, nope, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Like, it's fine where it's at. Don't touch it. And it was this cool like balance where one of us would be like perfectionist, like, no, I need that rap take better. He'd be like, nope, don't touch it. Or he'd be like, hey, I need to mix this better. And I'd be like, nope, don't touch it. It was this really cool like tug and pull there. And so he's genuinely, I feel like this happens with everyone I work with, but it went from like a professional thing to like, let's put in work to being a really cool friendship. So I really appreciate that guy for sure.
Well, that's amazing though. Being able to work with your friends and create together with your friends. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, seriously. And, I think that friendship we formed on the first record made, coming back for the second one so much easier. It felt like, I don't know. I think the vibe that you get kind of when you hear that record is, it's almost it's familiar, but it's so different. And I think for us coming back to do the second record, it was like, all right, we're back, baby. Like it felt like we hadn't seen each other in a while. Like, there was distance or whatever. It was like meeting a friend again that you hadn't seen in a long time, because that's what it was. And the record has that energy to it too, I think, which is really cool.
So when was like the decision born? Okay, we're doing this again.
That's a really hard question, actually. So it's kind of confusing, because in the middle of recording It's Us, there's a song called That's My Life, Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's on the second record. I recorded vocals for that song before we finished the first album. And so what happened was, we were doing the Lo-Fi record, and I was like, dude, we should work together on like another project. He was like, yeah, my normal thing is just like straight up hip hop. And I was like, oh, show me some beats. And he showed me the beat to That's My Life, Yeah. And he played it for me probably 20 seconds. I said, give me a headset, put me in the closet, which at the time we were still recording in the closet. Put me in the closet, give me the mic. I want to try and lay something down. And true story, those lyrics were originally meant to be a ballad, like a piano ballad.
Really?
And so when I grabbed it, I heard the beat and I found these lyrics that were originally a ballad. And I was like, I think I can rap this. And so the beat dropped and I laid down that first verse. Actually, I didn't lay down the first verse. In one take, I laid down all the way up through, it does like this verse chorus thing twice. So there's the tell me, why does it feel like I made another mistake? What's in my mind? And then it goes to maybe I'm in trouble. Maybe I'm fine. And it does that twice. I laid down both those first take.
Oh,
And I like stuck my head out the closet and I was like, dude. And he was like, dude. And then for the second half.
moment, you're just being like, dude.
Yeah. Which, like, honestly, that's a lot of what the vibe on that whole Lo-Fi EP was like, we'd do something and be like, bro. Like, it was just like we were hyping each other up the whole time. And then I found I was like, well, this was a ballad. I need to find another ballad I've written. So I found another ballad for the therapy. That's My Life. Yeah. That was supposed to be like what's a good song? That was supposed to sound like freaking, like Falling by Harry Styles, or like All of Me like John Legend. Like, it was supposed to be this very like lamentful powerhouse song. And then instead I'm on this beat going, therapy. That's my life. Yeah. And it totally just changed the whole tone of all of that.
But did that happen naturally? Like the change of like getting away from the ballad vibe to just rapping it? Was that like easy, or was it like
it was probably too easy. It's scary how fast my mind was able to twist it. Yeah, it was really natural. I mean, I was doing the flow for That's My Life. Yeah. The first part, like on the spot, not like I didn't plan the flow. Like usually you write and you know where it's going. I wrote that to a completely different meter, completely different tempo. And so I was on the spot, just fitting the words where it felt right. And it worked. It totally worked. And so we laid that down. We're like, all right, that's dope. Definitely can't go on this EP, but it's really cool. And then we did another song during the course of that EP. Did I freeze?
Yeah, you just went cyborg on me.
Oh no.
Like,
I promise I'm not gonna like eat you.
thank you.
We're good now?
Yeah.
Did all the words come through, or do I need to repeat something?
You need to repeat the last sentence, I think.
Okay, so we did that one song during the course of It's Us, and then there was another one that was originally going to be on It's Us that didn't fit, and that song is called Everything, which is on the It's Still Us EP. in intro, we sampled my ukulele, and I did some beatboxing and stuff. And then we sampled our own sample for everything. And we took the ukulele and we flipped it a little bit. We took the beatboxing and dug it under there, and then I just rapped over it. But it didn't fit the Lo-Fi EP quite right either. And so we held on to those for like 3 months, 2 months, something crazy, and put out the Lo-Fi EP, called it good. And then I hit him up again, was like, dude, you want to do just a straight up hip hop record? Because we already have 2 tracks. And that was, I guess, when we decided let's do a record. But we had already, it was already going, like we'd already started. And so I went in there and he showed me this beat for a song that you all know now as Beginner's Luck. And it was super fun. It like, again, it was this vibe of, it was super fun to just be hanging out again. It was fun to be doing something different. And I really hadn't done rap much at all. So that's my life. Yeah. Recording that was the first time I'd done just a hip hop track. You know, I've done rock rap. I've done like the lo-fi rap, which is still not anywhere near the same. And so suddenly it was like me learning, oh, like rap tone is important, where you know, talking like this and talking like this, one of them could sound great, one of them sound awful, and no one will want to listen to it. So where am I going to sit my vocals? Or, oh, wow, I actually really struggle with slurring words when I rap. Like that's something to work on, because now we're upping the quality. It's not lo-fi, so you hear it so much better. So I need to be precise. And wow, meter is super tight. I got to lock it in. And there's all these things now that I had to focus on. And so it was an exciting new challenge. It was exciting for him to be making new beats. And it was exciting for both of us just to be hanging out again. And so we dove into it, and I can't remember when it happened, but oh gosh, we were probably 3 days in and we had like 8 songs done.
Oh, damn.
Like it was
Like
happening
done and
fast.
dusted, like everything recorded and
It was happening fast. And I remember we looked at each other. That sounds like it's like a romantic thing. That we didn't like stare into each other's eyes and like have a moment. Like I remember we were kind of like, we're sitting there. That's better. We were sitting there. We weren't staring at each other's eyes for a long time. We were just sitting there hanging out and stuff. And I was like, dude, I think we should just release this soon. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I think we should distribute in like a week and a half. And he was like, okay. Like, he just didn't even.
that's so
It was
chill.
like, it was so natural. And so I was like, you know what? How crazy would it be if we dropped like I think our original goal was like, what if we dropped like a 25 song hip hop record out of nowhere? Like we just did it. And he was like, that would be crazy. And I was like, I feel like we need to do it. And really early on in that record, expectations was a theme. The idea of, you know, what I knew that this record, whether it was people who've listened to my music and have heard my solo stuff, my Crown and Chain stuff, or whether it was people from high school who had a certain idea of me, that this record would not be what anyone would expect from me. I knew that, you know, I mean, when someone who looks like me puts out a record, you expect indie something. Like I don't look like a rapper by any means. The everything about me doesn't look like someone who would lay down a hip hop record. And so I knew that for one sense I would be battling what people would expect me to do when we dropped it. But on the other hand, I also had expectations on myself where, you know, that perfectionism thing that me and Giovanni both wrestle with. I needed to kill, you know what, this is my first time doing hip hop. It's not going to be perfect. So let's stop trying to pretend it will be. Let's just push ourselves to make a ton of songs and put them out there. Let's give ourselves a tight timeline so we literally can't be perfectionists. You know, we only spent 15 days on the record, and we knew from a certain point that on the 15th day we were stopping and we were distributing. That forced us to not fight for perfection. We had
like mega
due date.
stress yourself out with that.
Did we stress ourselves out?
Yeah, with that, with
Absolutely.
like a tight
That
deadline,
last
and
day,
being a perfectionist, like I know the struggle. I'm such a perfectionist myself, and like deadlines are fucking scary because you know at some point you're just gonna be like, that's it, no more changes, and you're like, no, but no.
oh yeah. See, that always stresses me out with everything I release. Like that moment where you hit send is like, this is out of my control now. There's nothing I can do this. And that 15th day, that last day, it was awful. I think we both were so done with each other. Not because of anything the other person did. We just were exhausted because on the last day we wrote and recorded a song. We recorded a song that we'd already written, and then we mixed, mastered, and produced every track on the record in one day.
Oh my god. How is that even possible? You only have 24 hours in a day. How do you fit all of that into 24 hours,
It
Daniel?
was miserable. We were so burnt out. I can't remember what time we left, but it was probably we wrapped up at like 10 p.m. or something because we needed to distribute before midnight. But it felt like it was 4 a.m. It was awful. But the song Halfway, which is now like the number one song on my Spotify, we wrote and recorded it the day of distribution. That whole song from start to finish, lyrics, melody, everything we did that song in 2 hours.
Oh my god.
So just to get an idea for like the crunch this record was, I mean, every song in 15 days, you don't have that much time to spend on it. So every song was, all right, here's the beat. All right, I'm gonna cram out the lyrics. Okay, let's lay it down vocally. Okay, that take wasn't good. Let's get it again. Okay, get it again. There's this thing I do where when I'm feeling stressed out because lyrics for me and vocals are like a headspace thing. It's not so much a performance. It's like, I don't care if I'm pitchy because worst case, you just tune it and it sounds good, or worst case, it sounds a little pitchy in the recording. I care more about emotion. And so I need my mental to be where the lyrics are because you'll hear it. And so if I'm in a good mental and I don't get the take, I won't even leave the booth. I'll say, give it again, give it again, give it again. And that happened a ton on this album because it was just like, we gotta go. And we freaking announced the due date for the record halfway through making the record. And so we now had this due date saying, kill your friggin' expectations. We don't even freaking know what's going to release. I don't know what songs are going to be on there, what it's going to say. All I know is you're going to have it on this day. And it was insane it was just full out hustle and experimentation because we were figuring it out. And, it did this really cool thing though, where part of it was we weren't able to be perfectionists, but part of it also was that we were doing it for the first time with that timetable. It forced us to learn how to do things we wouldn't have learned otherwise. Like if to make a solid hip hop beat, to make a solid, there's hints of EDM on that record with like the Foreman vocal things we do. And I'm thinking of songs like, While I Wait, I'm a Vibe While I Wait. It has that big like breakdown, it builds and then it breaks. And there's like it's just a gnarly track. Stuff like that we had to figure out. And if we weren't on such a time crunch, we probably would have just thought of other ways to execute, but that would have taken time, so we couldn't. So we had to figure it out, which made it so that now hip hop pop is like easy to us. It's so easy for us. I mean, like Sky's a Compass, those lyrics, so easy. That beat production, oh my gosh, Giovanni cranked that out so fast. And then me placing the vocals was like, this is a freaking major scale. You just slapped them on. It made like doing a Crown and Chain song look like solving world hunger. A Crown and Chain track has so much to it. There's all this intention to every moment of sound. Whereas we're doing like Sky's a Compass or More Than Another type pop tracks that are like very Khalid, I don't know, Ed Sheeran collab album, like just pop. It was like so easy and natural. It was like you just do what feels right. You slap some auto tune on there so it sounds like pop and you're good. Like that's awesome. We wrote those songs in like 2 hour max. Like it was so easy.
It's basically
it really grew us as artists.
Basically what you did.
Wait, sorry, what was that?
It's basically just like capturing the moments. That's what you kind of managed to do instead of like building this big grand thing. You were like, okay, there is a moment here, there is a moment there. Let's get it done.
And you know what? That's exactly what the Lo-Fi record was too, right? And so it's cool because that's where we got the idea for It's Still Us, was that the Lo-Fi record was all about capturing emotion with like by eliminating overthinking. And then so this next record, by forcing ourselves on that timeline, it was like, this is the same thing. This is like the same thing in a different genre, just where we're not trying to be imperfect. It's just naturally going to happen because we're just moving. We're just pushing. And so it was still us in that same sense. It was the same drive as that record, just we changed. We were something different now. And it was so cool. I think that was one of my, not that the new album, the Evolving record, wasn't really fun to put together, but I think putting together that album was one of the most thrilling, adrenaline rush, fun experiences of my entire musical career. Because there was nothing like the grind of the second we had even a hint of this might be a cool song, is like, all right, hustle, let's get it. We just tackled it. It was so cool. And lyrically, I would come in every day to his house with a ton of lyrics I'd written the night before. So lyrically for that record, I must have had 30, 40, 50 songs done.
Oh, wow.
That were like, you never know, because of the way we were going, you never knew what vibe we were going to hit, what tempo the beat would be at. And so I had to come in ready with lyrics so we could just, go.
Where did like all these lyrics come from? Like where? Was it just like you seeing stuff or hearing stuff? Because like, I mean, there are these moments definitely where you get inspired by something. There's like a word, a moment, like sometimes even a smell or a sound that you're like, oh, okay. But like that much, like quantity, where does that come from?
I think the blessing and the curse of being someone who's been struggling with depression for 8 years, anxiety for 2 years, who's been going to therapy now for 2 years, or no, year and a half. And then throw me into quarantine, throw me into questions about like post breakup questions where, the Lo-Fi record was, I think, like just 6 or 7 months after a breakup. And then now quarantine, it's like, how am I even supposed to find someone? There was so much going on in my head. It was like the perfect storm for lyricism. Combine that with like, I'm in all these classes that are based around my faith, my religion, what I believe like in scripture and the Bible and stuff. And it's like blowing my mind what I'm learning in these classes. So then you throw that in there and there's all these questions of morality. What is eternity? What does death mean? What is the significance of life? What is purpose? I have all these big questions, these big life things I'm figuring out. I mean, I'm a 20-year-old, for crying out loud. We have a lot of questions about the universe. And I think it was just the perfect storm for, I always said I will never write a song that I have to try to write.
Yeah.
Never going to force an emotion out of me. I'm never going to present something that's not really within me. And, everything you're hearing, I was genuinely asking myself questions, genuinely feeling these things, genuinely. It was a turbulent time in my life, and that gave me the ability to make an unbelievable quantity of music.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's really beautiful, like getting these moments where it just happens. That is like whenever I write, like I always have these phases where I write like my poems and where I don't write. It's usually when I'm in a bad headspace. Not all the time, but that's like where it all kind of started. And I have like notebooks. I don't know if you can see these notebooks, like all down here. It's a bunch of notebooks. They're all filled with poetry. All of them.
Release that. Make a book. I will buy it. I will buy your book. Please do it.
I can't. But that's like literally like that. They will just come. I cannot construct them. They will happen. It kind of feels like they're out there. I just write them down. And then they're done. Like I don't realize what I'm writing while I'm writing it. And a lot of times I won't edit what I write down at all. I'll just leave it raw. Like I've sent you like I think a few of my poems that I've written. They're all just like within minutes. It's like,
and they're, for the record, they're so
max.
freaking good. They're so freaking good. You are talented.
Thank you.
Which is why I want you to release them. But
people are gonna think I have serious issues if I release that. They're gonna be like, "Are you okay?"
That's true. I mean, in my defense, I did have serious issues, but when I first started doing music, everyone, that was the whole thing. That's true. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
That part is awkward.
That's scary. It's like the questions around it. You probably get that a lot as well. People that like listen to your songs, be that anything from Crown and Chains to your solo stuff to the Giovanni stuff, people being like, oh my God, like what happened in your life, or like what's going on that kind of triggered this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super true. I think there's a lot of people who had no idea what I was going through until I started doing music. And kind of the thing I've had to tell them is like, this isn't like a new thing for me. Like I've battled depression for 8 years now. I've always had this. You just didn't know before. Anxiety's new. But even now I'm 2 years into that battle, and it's not, I think the first time I really talked about it super openly was on the Evolving record, the newest one. Mm-hmm. And, a few people were I got a few text messages about that. Like, how you battle anxiety too? And I was like, yeah, I've been battling for like 2 years. It's been a thing. It is interesting. It's always interesting. When I released the King Suffering album, there were like people who felt like they needed to apologize to me. And I was like, don't apologize because I like, this is just my life. Like, it's fine. You didn't do anything to me. The people who did need to apologize to me didn't, right? Like the letters people, or and expect the people I talk about on that one, those people never freaking apologized, but the people who would reach out and be like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, it'd be like, why are you sorry? This is just my life. It's a weird thing. Yeah. But I really want to talk about, you mentioned like a moment, like writing in a moment and not knowing what you're writing. This weird thing happened to me, and it's only happened on a few projects. The first time I experienced it was when I was working on part 2 for Crown and Chains, the Hourglass album. The second time I experienced it was with It's Still Us. And the third time I experienced it was I experienced it again with Evolving. But I would be unable to go to sleep because I had all these lyrics that I needed to write down. Like, I'd lay down in bed, I'd be like, time for bed. And then like a phrase would pop up and I'd be like, yes. And then grab my phone and I'd write it, and then there'd be a song there. Right. Like, it would just happen. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, frick, whatever. And it would happen again. Like, I would probably have it happen anywhere between 2 to 5 times before going to sleep. And then like what the real trippy one to me was that I would wake up at 3 in the freaking morning with a chorus in my head, like melody and lyrics. And I'd wake up and I'd be like, I got to write that. And I'd grab my phone. I'd write at like 3 a.m. Like, these songs were just, it wouldn't stop. It was really weird. And so, like I said, I think for It's Still Us, I want to say it was 35. I had 35 songs written for that record. For Evolving, I had like 70.
What?
I like had so many songs for that record, and you're going to get a Twitter dump soon of just all the lyrics, because there's no way I'm going to be able to write and produce all 70 of those songs. So I might just drop them. Plus, they're all so heavily tied to the theme of Evolving that that like on any other record, it would feel weird. So I wrote like 70 songs for that album.
Damn.
And so it's so weird. I don't know how that works. I don't know what does that, but it was totally just, the inspiration was unreal.
It's actually very real. It's not unreal. It's very real. All of that.
I mean, yes, it's real. It's just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the mind is capable of. And usually with lyrics that you go in with some sort of, I'm feeling this, I want to execute this. With that, it was like, I even say it on, in the intro to It's Still Us. I say, it's like we didn't even felt. You froze. Oh, no.
Yeah, you froze. I just heard it's in the intro. So continue from it's in the intro.
Yeah. It's in the intro when I say, it's like we didn't even do this. The music made it. Yeah. It really felt like something beyond us was pulling the strings and making that album happen in a really cool way. So, yeah.
And that's how Evolving happened. It just
that's
evolved.
Evolving. Yeah, so Evolving was we finished It's Still Us, and we were like, finally, we can take a break and breathe because it was just all hustle for 2 weeks. Um, we started and finished a hip hop album in 2 weeks. That's a lot, especially for two guys who'd never done something like that. And so we waited for it to just drop. The record dropped, I want to say, a week after we finished it. And so release day came around. Super exciting seeing people's reactions. I think "Kill Your Expectations" might be one of the coolest taglines for releasing a record ever.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad we came up with that. The cool thing about that was that we needed to kill our expectations, and we didn't even know it. The songs that people liked the most were songs we did not think people would gravitate towards.
For example,
the only one I expected was Halfway, but like Run It One, I hated that song.
really?
I thought it was my first time doing freestyle, and I hated it. I was like, oh, it's so cringy. I don't like my flow. I don't like my delivery. That was like in everyone's top 5 who I talked to pretty much. And I was like, it's so unique to me. It was super interesting. Interlude, a lot of people really liked Interlude on that record. I didn't. I thought that was a throwaway song. I thought that was like a skip track no one was going to listen to. People loved it. So there was some weird stuff like that. We didn't need to kill our expectations with it. But what ended up happening was we saw the reactions to the album. We saw that the hip hop thing worked. And we were getting all this feedback at the same time. We were listening to the record, and we were hearing all these things like, oh, we could have done that better. We could have done that better, right? You take yourself out of the workflow, and suddenly you see everything you did wrong. We're like, oh, there's all these things we would have changed. And it all started with, we didn't even know it, but we were both like getting that itch again already.
Mm-hmm.
And within days of It's Still Us releasing, all these people telling me they loved Run It, I was like, I don't love Run It.
Let's redo it.
Like, I could do it better. And so I freaking wrote Run It 2 lyrically. Literally what happened was I was watching, what show was it? I'm not
Something that had the word villainous in it.
Yeah, I was watching a show, and it said, one of the characters said like villainous. And I like grabbed my remote and I paused it, and I was like, that is a good word. And so I wrote that first, I'm done feeling villainous, killing this amidst the list of little children unwilling to listen to me spit. That like line flowed out of me quicker, I think, than I'd ever written that many rhymes. It just was like, boom, obviously. And I was like, okay, I need to I walked to my room, left the living room, walked to my room, and I was like, I need to write this now. And within 10 minutes, Run It 2 was done. Like, it just happened that fast. I was partway through when I got the idea for I should reference every record on the last album. And so I dropped all those. And then the original ending, let me read this to you. Originally, it was going to end very different. I think I still have this saved. Where is it? It's Still Us. Yeah, so I had 35 songs written for It's Still Us. I just found the folder.
Oh, nice.
Where is it? Run It.
I want to hear it now.
Sorry, I'm finding it. So originally, you know how on the previous 2 records there was a ton of like monologue things?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really do that on Evolving, which is one of my few regrets with that album. I feel like it was a cool thing we did that we didn't lean into more. But originally, Run It 2 ended with one. And originally, it was the beat was gonna keep going, and so it'd go, we're going turtle speed, and then like the beat would go, and I go, get it, because like slow and steady wins the race, because like we're gonna actually take our time with this record and get it right and make it super good, because we totally rushed the last one, because like we made this dope album in just like 2 weeks, running like the rabbit, like the hare. So now we'll do it even better, because like we're the turtles, because like the turtle wins in that story, I think, if I remember the story right, and it's like a sequel song and a sequel album. Get it? Do you get it? And then the beat would stop and it would go, if you don't get it, I'm gonna go grab my bat again. And that was my original ending to the song. And like literally, I have like all the likes and awkward pauses written into the like the monologue for that.
Yeah.
I was really originally gonna end it that way, but when we were in the studio, I said, we're going turtle speed. I listened to it and I was like, we need some sort of drop there. something needs to happen there. And Giovanni was like, dude, I got you. And he made this just that intense boom, which is gnarly. All that production, by the way, is a sample from an old TV show called Adam Ant. It's like a cartoon superhero show. That's what all the like trumpets is. We flipped the sample. We made this hip hop beat out of it. I'm debating. I have to tell you.
Yes. Whatever it is.
It's kind of inappropriate of us. It's kind of PG-13 of us.
That's okay.
And it might ruin Run It too for some people.
Well, too bad for them. I want to hear it.
So we say we're going turtle speed. And previously, when we've referenced an animal, there's an animal for every record. There's goat on the first one. Get out and try something. There's birds in Run It. One. Have you ever looked at birds for a minute? And then in this one, we're going turtle speed. And so Giovanni, oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm sharing this with the internet. Giovanni found a clip on YouTube of two turtles.
Oh, I have a bad feel. I think I know where this is going.
Two turtles growing their family together. Making sweet, passionate love. And we took that sound.
No.
And we and part of that that boom sound is a sampled turtle sex noise. So did not originally plan on telling the world that, because how do you tell the world that they're listening to turtle sex when they listen to your song?
Okay.
But you are.
Wow. I love that. So, that is, oh my God.
Which makes the line, we're going turtle speed, suddenly takes a very different meaning.
Context is essential for that lyric.
And so I love that song so much, because there's so many little, like, every time me and Giovanni work together too, there's little things where I cannot share all of these stories. I can't share any of these other stories. That is the cleanest version of this that there is.
Okay.
But there's so many little moments me and Giovanni have had where we've made the filthiest freaking joke off of one of our songs, and I cannot hear this song the same again anymore. And Run It too. Every time that beat drops after it says, we're going turtle speed, I lose it. Knowing what that sound is. Lose my mind. But it was perfect. Actually, I didn't have originally those lyrics on the back half were not meant for Run It 2. They were meant for a whole different song just called Evolving. And to put it at the end of Run It 2 was perfect somehow. I didn't realize how perfect it was until Giovanni laid down the beat. And I was like, I can't just do a monologue over this. I have to rap over this. It worked out perfect. I fell in love with it very quickly. So, yeah, Run It 2 was the first track. We laid down Nokia Drift really quickly after, Working really quickly after. What's the other one? Apathetic was like the second song, I think. We did that one very quickly after, which is ironic because that whole song is about I'm really tired and exhausted and I don't know about this thing anymore. And then I wrote 15 songs and recorded like 15 songs after the realization that this is making me really tired and I need a break.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm really tired. I need a break. Let's make an album. I don't know what's wrong with me, but yeah, very true. Oh man, the whole record was so good because what had happened was that while doing the It's Still Us record, we learned how to do hip hop right. And for Evolving, we weren't learning anymore. We were executing what we'd already learned. And so it was really cool. Yeah, I mean, we really did evolve. That line, It's Still Us, we're just better. Like, it's a cocky as frick line, first of all, which I don't normally talk like that.
It
So it
worked
felt
though.
really good to say it. It's like that line. I love doing that. I did run it too live in SoCal at a gig with Giovanni recently. And that line felt so good to say with just this like, it's really hard for me to like see progress and good things in myself. Like that's the nature of depression, is that there's like this struggle to see what you're worth and what you can do and stuff. But the progress made between It's Us and Evolving was so undeniable that even through all my own like personal issues with my mental, I could not even try to convince myself that we hadn't gotten so much freaking better. And that line just feels so good. And that whole record, I mean, there's honestly not many stories to tell because it all just happened. It all was just, we made a beat, we dropped down lyrics, and it was just good on the first try. It just was what it needed to be. I think the only songs that gave us trouble were I'm in the Middle, which is very Kendrick Lamar inspired and very, honestly, very Crowned in Chains inspired. I was asking myself as we did that, what if I took like my meta approach to music that I do with Crowned in Chains and I took it to hip hop, what would come from that? And that was sort of, that song kind of came out of that drive. And that song was frustrating as frick because we finished it and then we forgot to hit save.
Oh.
And when we reopened the file, all we had were drums and a chorus, and that was it. And so we had to restart. That was super frustrating. We like almost didn't do the song after that because we were so mad because that production was really complicated. The flow was really complicated. We ended up going back and doing it. The other one that gave us trouble was Then Leave, which that song is essentially like a frick you to a few people specifically, who obviously I'm not going to drop their name, but there's some people in high school who used to make fun of me for my music all the time. And it would really get on my nerves and it was pretty hurtful. And those people are now SoundCloud rappers who like, I normally wouldn't say this about someone, but since I haven't said what their name is, and
It's okay.
since this song kind of implies it anyway, they really suck at what they do. There's no meaning to what they say. There's not much talent to their beat production and their flow and their rap tone. It's not refined at all. And there's no purpose behind what they're doing. It's just that they do it for clout. They do it for whatever they're doing it for. It's not what music was meant to be, and it pissed me off. And so I laid down this like gnarly, freaking aggressive, in-your-face, frick you song, and I wanted the meter to double, or not double. I wanted it to the number of syllables to increase by a third with every verse. So it starts off, I came here to try to break through the lies. My mind is a mind to what about to what purpose divine. And it's like, it's not that fast. And then the second verse goes, music's competitive, stressing is set and I'm really in and now got to get better than privacy let him in mind is clear penitent. And it's just way faster. And then that third verse was so fast that the first day I tried to lay it down, I worked at it for 40 minutes and I couldn't get it. I wrote it that day and I couldn't lay it down. It just wasn't sounding good. When I came back the next day, I got it my second try.
Oh,
and so it's that verse is so fun though, because it's the really got to give it what I want if I do want to get it in my pocket, put the back in front of full of my visions. I will put it in my sleeve if it wasn't full already. All my beats are hidden, it's tricks and lyrics stuck already. So instead he headed to disaster. A pastor without a congregation isn't actually pastoring anybody but himself. He's actually after himself on the streets. Anyway, I'm going faster than the meter, which is slowing my words, but it's just like super fast.
Flowing to me though, like people being able to do that, I'm like, how?
Yeah, it's like
How
ridiculous.
do you do that without like just bleh?
Well, the thing was, I wouldn't have been able to if I didn't spend 40 minutes doing it over and over the day before, right? Like it's just, I mean, it goes back to that song Pain and Gain on It's Still Us. Was like, I was getting, there's probably some outtakes where I said not very Daniel words trying to get that freaking third verse. There's definitely outtakes for freaking, what's that song called? Forward Forever. Forward Forever, I was getting so pissed off that those background vocals you hear in that song, where it's like the first line sucks and me like yelling and stuff, that was me not being able to track what I just written and getting mad at myself.
Okay.
And Giovanni he didn't tell me he was recording me, and he
Ah,
recorded all these takes.
very sneaky.
I really hope he doesn't have all of them because some of them are not how I would want to present myself to the world.
It's like an
But,
outtake special. That could
yeah,
be
he kept them and he put them in the freaking song. He like sprinkled all these like me being really pissed off and kept them in the song. But no, for Then Leave, it was like this. It was so satisfying to come back on day 2 and get it my second try, the whole freaking flow. Because it's one of my favorite flows I've written. It's wicked fast and the meter kind of doesn't go where you would expect it to. And it was super fun. Super satisfying to lay down that verse, which is on a song about frick you. I'm doing this right. You're doing this wrong. And then to execute something so cool felt really good.
It's such a badass song, honestly.
Yeah.
The
Thank
first
you.
day I listened to the album, I listened to that song once in the morning and then once in the evening. And I had like one of those days, you know, where you're just like, oh, like everything sucks.
Yeah.
And there were like people that were getting on my nerves, like a lot. And then I finished listening to the album because I started in the morning and then that song came on. I was like,
Yeah.
like you go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that song, I love that song. That's probably in my top 3 for that record, honestly. Then Leave is a cool track. I think the best song on that record though is Crowds. I cannot.
Yeah.
That song was to me partially inspired by COVID, but not really. It was just thinking about social anxiety and how there was a time where being in a room filled with people was where I was most comfortable, where it was where I was most at peace, where being on a stage was my home, where being in a room just packed with, you know, friends and family and loved ones was like the happiest place you could put me. And now all of a sudden something has happened in my mind where I can't even be comfortable with 5 people in a room, where my thoughts are racing, I'm overthinking, where my breath gets heavy, where, you know, how did something that I used to love so much get twisted into something that I've grown to despise? I don't want to be afraid of this anymore. I want to go back to how things were, was kind of the drive of that. And I think possibly my favorite sentence I've ever written was the phrase, "I've never been a loner, but I kind of want to try it." It is the most angsty as frick line ever, but it is so true to how I feel now that I'm wrestling with social anxiety. It's like I've never had problem making friends. I've always been able to find something to connect with someone with and form a relationship there. But now if this is what it's going to amount to, then what's the point even? Is
Yeah.
almost what the drive of that song
It's gonna
is.
make you uncomfortable anyway, then why would you?
Yeah. And so it's, you know, what's really cool about that song, and what I don't think everyone knows, is I wrote that song the day that I played the first gig during quarantine. I was able to go to a youth group in Riverside. I'm actually repping their shirt right now. Where's the button? Mag High School. I went to their youth group and I performed like a 45-minute set of songs from It's Still Us, and I threw in Run It 2 in there. And that whole day I was out of my mind anxious. And so we laid down that track. Giovanni brought his studio with him so we could record in LA. That's where we wrote Forward Forever. And we also wrote Crowds that day. And I remember we started with the hook and I was like, oh, this is something. That's like one of my best hooks I've ever written. And then I really knew it was something when we laid down that pre-chorus, the wish I was trapped by 4 walls. I was like, holy crap. That sounds like anxiety feels. Like that is exactly what is in my head when I'm feeling that. And it wasn't until 2 weeks later that we were in his studio working on the album again, days before distribution. End it, and I was like, no, except for like a massive EDM breakdown. It has that natural build to it, and then it sinks, and then that build, and then it sinks. And I'm like, if we don't build this the frick up and then break it, no one's gonna be satisfied with this song. There's no other way to conclude that. And And honestly, he couldn't quite latch his head to what I was hearing, and so we actually switched chairs for the first time fully. And he was on the computer finding sounds for me, and
Mm-hmm.
I laid down like the bump 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 bump. I laid that down. I laid down the drums. I laid down the I laid all that down, and played, writer composer fully in that sense for the first time with that EDM breakdown. And it, honestly, I don't know how he feels about it. To me, it was the coolest way to wrap up the final song on a record,
Mm-hmm.
for us to switch chairs. And it felt like, look what we've learned from each other.
Yeah.
Because normally he would be making these beats, I'd be choosing the sounds for him, but he was finding me sounds and I was laying down the chords, the melodies. It was just like, what a perfect way. Look at, we've learned from each other and
Yeah.
we're executing
You've
it now.
grown together through this whole process. And that kind
Yeah,
of was the
it was
perfect
so
little
cool.
cherry on top moment for that.
Yeah, it was really cool. And so, that whole record, to me, it's everything I've ever wanted an album of mine to be. The number of songs is like perfect. It's not too many, which It's Still Us was too many, but we were trying to do too many, so it's fine. It's not too many. It's not too little, which It's Us was too little, but we were trying to do that anyway, so it's fine. This is like, it's like Goldilocks. It's like we did two different things, and then we met in the middle with this record and made, honestly, and I'm not saying this because I made it. I think that record's sort of like a masterpiece.
Yeah, I agree.
It feels to me like everything I would want a record that I would pick up from someone else to be. And it really is, I mean, I end up saying this about everything I put out at some point, but I'm so proud of it. And I do think it's some of my best work. And I think some of the most proud I've been of something I've been able to work on. Giovanni with his talent, sharing it with me again, and us really, it is us. It's not me, it's not him, but fully collaborative in the full sense. To get something like that out of it just feels really, really cool. And
Yeah,
to conclude
I
the
think it's
trilogy that
absolutely
way.
incredible.
You said what?
I think it's absolutely incredible. To be honest, I never thought, like, musically, that is kind of very much outside of my comfort zone. I normally always, whenever there's rap in something, I'm always a little like, I don't like it. A lot of times it just doesn't resonate with me at all. Like, not at all.
Yeah.
Like, and the two previous records he did with Giovanni, I was already like, I like this. Why do I like this? I was questioning myself. I was like, why do I like this? Why do I vibe with this? And then, like, when I listened to Evolving, I was like, this is insane. I don't know if it was the time of day, because I got up at 5 a.m. because I had a really earlier start to the day. I was like getting ready. It was like dark and it was like super quiet outside. And I felt like I was almost alone in like the house and the area and everything. And I had the record on and it just, I don't know, it blew my mind. Like literally, I was like, whoa, it was crazy. And my head started like spitting out like poems. Like I told you that as well. In the early morning hours, I was just like writing stuff. I was like, shit, I need to get ready. I need to go to work. But like inspiration and like, yeah, I still listen to it on the regular. I don't know how many times I've gone through it, but I've gone through it so many times because I still don't understand why it resonates with me so much.
Yeah, I
It's
love that.
incredible.
I love that it resonates so deeply and you don't know why. I
Yeah.
think that's,
And I need to find out.
I think that's a lot of where I try to land, though, is where it's, I make this music that, I word it, bleed on the mic, still no one knows me.
Yeah. One of my
From the
favorite
heart,
lyrics from
still
the
no one
entire
knows
thing.
who I am.
Lean on the mic so no one knows.
I really am. It's such a deep part of me that comes out in those lyrics that I think a lot of time I'll discover stuff about myself by listening that I didn't realize was in me. And, I think for that to happen to other people too, where they hear themselves in these lyrics, I think it's a testament to how much it works when you don't try to write a song, but when you let the song write itself, that just real life comes out. And so that's super cool that you really resonate with the record. I really appreciate that. It's definitely a special one for me. And I think, it's the last one in that series. The It's Us series is done. It dies in Evolving. That's the conclusion. Doesn't mean me and Giovanni are done working together. We have something planned that I'm sure we'll be announcing. I'm taking a break, but I'm sure we'll be announcing it sometime in the next 5 months.
Exciting,
We'll
yeah.
tell you what's coming next from us, but we have some really excited stuff coming soon. But that is, a storyline started with It's Us and it ended with Evolving. And I genuinely am so proud of that 3-album progression because you can see the growth, you can see the themes as they progress. You can see there's so many connections on those 3 records that you won't hear unless you've soaked yourself in each of them individually and then go back and listen in order. You won't even know them unless you sit on them that way. And I really am. It's been huge for me as an artist to work with Giovanni and to work on these records because it's grown me as an artist more than I knew a project could. I can do the Crown and Chains thing and that's great, but even though every song is different for Crown and Chains, even though there's a different drive to them all, it's the same thread of intellectual songwriting that's there. This forced me to find something different in myself. I can do Uncaged all day, any day, but there's something different about working alongside someone else and doing something different every time. The season series, there's something cool about composing movie soundtracks and turning them into a song that someone can listen to, but also leading into a visual someone can watch. It's unique, but pushing myself with this series has specifically, I think it's been the most growth I've experienced as an artist in my entire 7 years of writing lyrics and songwriting. Nothing has shaped me and will leave an impact on the future art I create as much as working with Giovanni on these 3 albums has, for sure. It has been like my what's the word? I don't know the word. Like a
Breakthrough, epiphany, like
sort of. What's the name? There's like a. It's so annoying. Lyricist, I can't come up with a word. There's a word for it like has to do with songs, and it's like someone's. It's not swan song. That's like a song you sing before you die or something. Opus. What does opus mean? What is an opus?
An opus is like this. I'm lacking the English word. An opus is like a big story. Something like Odysseus is an opus, like a big story.
I think this is like my opus to songwriting, and my opus to my. Does that even make sense? I don't know. It's the only word I can think of. It's like I've written. It's. It's so frustrating.
Not like Zenith, are you? That's not what you want. Not Zenith.
No, it's close. You know what? I guess the closest I can get to it's my love letter to my music career. And it's sort of like my on the It's Us EP, I talk about exploring the puddles of music for the first time. Like it's the first time. And I think what's cool about this project is you had me exploring the puddles again like it was brand new on It's Us. You had me wading in till the water came up to about my chest on It's Still Us. And then with Evolving, and we even allude to this in Evolving, it's like I hopped into a submarine and we went deep. We went to the depths. And that vibe you get on Crowds is supposed to sound like you're in a submarine. You're on it was this weird concept I came up with. Like, what would a submarine tour sound like? And so it's this idea you're on a submarine with a bunch of people, and then like a airplane guy over the radio, the captain of your submarine says, "We're nearing the end of your journey. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of whatever the line is." We went into the depths, and then we took you right back with the last song. Forward, further, there's more for me. That's just like you're listening to me singing through a phone speaker. You froze.
Yeah.
No, did you freeze?
Yeah. I just heard it's the end of the journey and then that was it.
it was, I
You're
think
gonna
the
have to
perfect way
say
to
all
end
of
it.
that. It was perfectly phrased, I'm sure. Now you're gonna have to say it again.
It's fine. We, it felt like we dove into the depths again, and then we came back to the surface right after, right? Crowds has you're in the depths, and it says you're nearing the end of your journey, and then it takes you right back to where we started exploring the puddles with forward further, there's more for me. And that's sung through very lo-fi style. And it takes you back to, we're right back where we started. But at the same time, we're back where we started, but look at how much we've grown along the way. And look at the fact that even though we're back to exploring the puddles, we know there's more for us out there. There's more to go to. I don't know. To me, there's no, it, I don't like thinking of the idea that there can be a perfect ending to something. I don't like the idea that perfection is achievable. And I don't really, let me clarify, I don't think we've achieved perfection with any of these three records. The one thing I don't think I could have done better was the theme that carried across the three records and then ending it the way we did. I mean, when I listened to that record for the first time the night after distributing, I totally cried. I cried like a baby hearing it because it was like, holy crap. So I listened to the record as a whole, and I listened to all three back to back, which if you're in for an experience, that is an experience to do that. And I'm getting choked up now. Listening to If You Insist was like, I don't know, it's me singing to myself to like look at what I've accomplished that I never thought I could. Look at this story you've told, this art you've created, the way that you've been surrounded by support and love and energy and good vibes, the impact you've had over your 4 years as an artist, releasing your music to the world now. Think about, it was me not looking just back on It's Us, but looking back on Uncaged, on the season series, on Crown and Chains, and saying you've done something beyond yourself that has impacted people in an undeniable way. There's still more for you. Partially musically, but also saying if you have the ability to create that impact in others, then in life there is positivity you can achieve that you don't know yet. There is love and hope and peace you can achieve that you don't know yet. That feeling of fear you feel in the crowds, there's progress to be made there. There's so much hope in life that you can have. And you know what? These people believe in you. These people are surrounding your music and pushing you forward, and they're telling you that there's more for you. I'm going to evolve if they insist. If they tell me that there's something out there for me, that I have potential to be a better artist, potential to grow a fan base, potential to achieve something in life I can't imagine. If they insist, then I'm going to move forward because there is more for me. And I don't think there's any more satisfying and more perfect closing to what that series was than for me to reflect on my entire music career so far in like just this raw me singing to myself way that I did.
Yeah. It's honestly, it's incredible to be able to look back at that and be like, hey, I've come so far, and it's not the end of the journey. Like, even though you've come so far, it's only just the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, that's oh man. I have so much coming your way that you don't know about. I have I can't say anything.
Don't
And
you?
I
You
can't.
probably shouldn't spill anymore.
I
As
won't.
much
I won't.
as I would love to hear it.
No, not this time. Not this time because it would ruin what it is. But just know that my plans stretch for my solo music. I have plans stretching all the way to 2022. For Crown and Chains, I have plans stretching all the way to 2025. And it is because of every single one of you who's watching this video. If you're watching this video, odds are you have listened to my music and you care to hear what I say, especially if you're up to this point. I doubt you're listening because you don't know something about me that you want to attach to it.
Whoever is still here, honestly, you deserve a prize.
Yeah, seriously. These people have made, I went out, man, I'm sorry, I talk so much. How long has this been? An hour and a half?
Yeah.
Goodness. Sorry. whenever I write like a handwritten letter to fans, or to the peasantry, or to anybody, one thing I always include is that a singer without an audience has no purpose. Or more precisely, a song without a listener has no purpose. And so for me to start doing music where literally there was no one listening, and to be now where I'm at with 4 different music projects, more stuff on the way that you don't even know about, and having people attaching themselves to what I do, that gives what I do its purpose. So if you're watching this video, I'm talking to you too, okay, I'm looking at you as well, for having me on and for having these conversations with me. You are what gives what I do purpose. Every single one of you is the reason that anything I do matters. It's not me. It's not even my lyrics. It's not even the melodies. It's nothing. Each of you is the purpose of everything I release. And you are the purpose, and you create the purpose at the same time. And so thank you to each of you for making what I do have a meaning to it, have a point to it. The point you all missed in Evidence Burns, it's you. You're the point. I